Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Friday morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing well out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great ending to your week, a beginning to your weekend, whatever it may be for you folks out there. Hopefully I said a good Friday morning. I think last Friday I said good Monday morning, so it is Friday. But here to talk about many things in this morning's video. The first thing we'll cover is the tropics. I think we need to give you guys another update on Hurricane Rafael. I still think it's not going to impact anybody else. I think it'll fizzle apart in the Gulf of Mexico, but I think it's awfully impressive that this thing has strengthened back into a major hurricane. And I just want to talk a little bit about how abnormal it is for the track this thing has taken. So we'll speak on that, and then we're going to talk about yet another signal that could be brewing in the tropics. It's unbelievable, but it is possible, and the GFS is showing it, and I think it's about time we tip our hat to the GFS because it did very well with Hurricane Rafael, which obviously became a major hurricane, not just a hurricane, but a Category 3 hurricane. So we'll speak on that. We'll give you info on that, get very detailed, and then we'll speak on what's going to happen weather-wise across the entire lower 48 for today as we have blizzard warnings ongoing across New Mexico. Feet of snow is added up across Colorado, New Mexico, even a lot of snow, over half a foot of snow in the far western sections of the panhandle of Oklahoma. Pretty wild stuff. We'll go over the latest info we have on that, and then we'll talk a little bit on the potential for a pattern change for the central and really the eastern U.S. A lot of people have been wondering, when are we going to get back to cooler weather? We'll speak on a little bit, but I think I'm going to put together a longer video on this later this weekend, so stay tuned for that. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it, and if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Certainly appreciate the prayers for the situation with losing my pets. I'm feeling a lot better this morning. We'll continue to get through it, but definitely continue to ask for prayers over that situation, and prayers for my boss's little girl that they found a brain tumor in her brain. So he seems like he's in good spirits about it. They're all in good spirits about it. Just, testimony to how strong their faith is. But just continue to ask for prayers over that. So let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So this is Hurricane Rafael. As of the latest around 4 a.m. update, this was still a major hurricane. It weakened to a Category 2 when it crossed over Cuba. Then it re-strengthened in the southern Gulf of Mexico. Now it looks like it is on the process of weakening as it had a cleared out eye yesterday evening. Since then it is no longer has that cleared out eye, and just still looks like a pretty powerful and impressive hurricane, but definitely is in the process of slowly weakening. But as of the latest update, still is a Category 3 hurricane. Might get downgraded to a Category 2 sometime later this morning. But listen, it is not often in October and November that we see hurricanes go like zonal, like east to west, west to east. Typically when they form, I'm going to draw on here a little bit, typically when they kind of form down here in this area, which is where they typically do this time of the year, they kind of drift and do this or even do that, not even bother anybody except maybe the Caribbean islands. You don't see them doing this. It's pretty odd, very abnormal, and it's because we've had this ridge over the eastern U.S., which is what's been pumping all this, these abnormally high temperatures, these above average temperatures, and this high humidity. This is actually steering Rafael this way. So pretty wild stuff. But we continue to move forward here. This is what's going on right now. The area I want to watch once again is going to be the same area where Rafael formed. Hey, my voice keeps crackling. But I want to watch this area again over the next several days, okay? But this is what's going on right now, the latest from the National Hurricane Center. Let's see if there's a new update. There is not. It's a 120-mile-per-hour Category 3 hurricane still. We're still watching this area of interest right here. I don't think this will become much, but I do want to watch for a new area of interest that gets issued maybe in this area, maybe by the end of this weekend. Maybe. We'll see if that happens. But, still a 956 millibar Category 3 hurricane is what Rafael is right now, moving 9 miles per hour to the west at this moment. Latest cone is weird. Does a little loop-de-loop. Like I said, Category 3 hurricane will weaken to a Category 2 today, and then to a Category 1 by overnight. And then most model guidance shows this kind of moving north, like it might threaten the Gulf coastline, and then it most likely will weaken pretty dramatically in this area, probably over the weekend into early next week, for example, at its furthest northern point, if you will. It could be there around Sunday night into Monday morning, but then could potentially jog south, but it could just dissipate in this area, like in the Gulf of Mexico. all indications point that this is going to fall, pretty much on its face over the next several days. As it just continues to churn up the water's cool and just wind shear. So let's hopefully expect that to happen. It seems like the tropics always just throw us a wrench. So that's the latest on Rafael. Now, just kind of looking at some model guidance as far as it's showing that with Rafael. Here it is, kind of jolting north later this weekend. Still a tropical storm. Could even bring some moisture to the southern Gulf coastline. I don't think it'll be a big deal. Might cause a little bit of storm surge, maybe. But then it'll jog back south and completely weaken. Same thing with the Euro. Euro kind of jogs it north over the weekend, right into here. In fact, the Euro doesn't even really jog it much north at all. It kind of just keeps it in one area. Kind of gets it north Sunday into Monday, and then it just sort of drifts back south and just kind of falls apart. Okay, so that's an update on Hurricane Rafael. Now, let's put our eyes back down here. Seems like we're just restarting this again, right? Let's start off Monday evening, November the 11th, okay? We get going in time. Man, sorry about the clearing of my throat, guys. I don't know what's going on with that. But we're getting into Wednesday morning. We're already starting to see more moisture down here. Tropical moisture is building. We're seeing the circling up. This tells me there's a broad area of low pressure. Here we go again. All right. And this continues on the GFS about a week from today. It begins to brew. And then about past the 7, I would say between the 7 and 10 day mark. I know it's far out, but the GFS showed it that far out with Rafael too. Okay, it develops a tropical storm once again down here and does what more so climate points to and just heads north. But, this is 10 days from now. Don't get overly concerned. We're in mid-November at this point, but develops a hurricane in the same area Rafael was at. And then it moves it right into Cuba once again, past the 10-day mark, and then wants to push, a hurricane between the Florida Keys and the northern coastline of Cuba, and interferes and gets into the Bahamas. Let's hope that doesn't happen, and then could merge and just turn into a big storm system. It's been a couple of GFS runs in a row that has showed this now. Okay, what about the Euro? The Euro is always going to be conservative, but it does show an increase of moisture down here with lowering pressure, I would say. Okay, we get into later this work week. We get into this next weekend, not this weekend, next weekend. We're starting to see a lot of unsettled weather down here indicated by the greens. Okay, and, we go about 10 days out. It never fully develops a low pressure. But, folks, the Euro didn't develop anything at this time frame either with Rafael. Okay. Now, what about the Euro AI model? Same thing. We'll move it into later this week. And just an area of unsettled weather. A lot of green and just tropical moisture. But it never develops anything. Okay. What about the icon? We go pretty much 120 hours out. Just some moisture down here. If we go in the icon from overnight last night, go about a week out. And it is developing a low pressure. Next Friday morning. You can see the circling up here. This tells us that there's a low pressure developing down here. So I think this is worth watching because the environment continues to be favorable. And I'll show you that here in a second. But as far as the signal from the GEFS, okay, all these little numbers you're seeing, just think of that as members out of the 21 runs that run, okay? In this particular case, there's 21 members. They throw it all in an output for us. And you're going to see the screen brighten up down here, indicating that we have not only members forming, but we also have the strengthening of these members. So here it comes. We take it about, let's just go a week out. And there's not a ton of members down here, but the ones that do form start to get a little strong. And then, we get a few, as you can tell, there's just a few numbers into here. This really, the brightening of the colors is really driven off the strength of the tropical cyclone. But there's a lot of members down here out of the 21 off the GEFS ensemble. So I think it's worth watching this signal. I know I kind of downplayed Rafael, and I'll completely admit that. But I'm not downplaying this. I'll tell you that right now. The GFS has done well. Tip my hat to it. But as far as the upper wind pattern, the sea surface temperatures are still warm in the Caribbean. Still in the 80s, okay, the 80s. But as far as the upper wind pattern, you see how we're getting this huge anticyclonic flow. It's kind of like doing this little swirl, okay? and then low pressure in the northern hemisphere is going to spin like this. Okay, I'm sorry, not like that. Like this. Okay, so we got this flow going in the opposite direction over the Caribbean. What does that do? That helps disperse air out away from this low pressure, allowing for more air to rise. So we just got a big old environment for rising air down here in the Caribbean as we're getting into next week. That doesn't go away. Just a favorable MJO phase of rising air, and this could promote a tropical cyclone for developing. The pattern supports it once again. So we got to watch this area. I'm sick of talking about the tropics too. I can see it in the comments. I'm over it. But we got to talk about it. We got viewers down here in the Caribbean. And I'll be honest, typically when these form down here in October and November, they like to drift north. What Rafael is doing is kind of odd. So let's go over what's happening weather-wise across the entire lower 48 for your day. Right now, the big weather maker is this upper low. This thing is insane. I mean, the snow totals in New Mexico, Colorado, even extreme western like Oklahoma and probably the extreme northwestern point of Texas just getting unloaded on. Just a huge, basically amped up low-level jet over this area that's just producing a ton of moisture. It's just pretty wild stuff. And even on the warm side, it's raining like crazy. A lot of beneficial rains are falling, but maybe too much at one time. And, you know, speaking of too much rain at one time, my folks here in the Midlands of South Carolina, just south of me in Orangeburg, got 10 to 15 inches of rain. It's like almost a little micro disaster zone down here in Orangeburg County in South Carolina right now. But no rain falling right now, thank goodness. But this is the main storyline. Snowing like crazy in Colorado, the same areas that's been seeing it. Folks, what's wild is they had to upgrade these winter storm warnings to blizzard warnings in the red here. These are blizzard warnings in New Mexico. Not unheard of in the higher elevations, but just not common at all. Winter storm warnings in Colorado, these have been extended all the way up into the Denver metro area where several more inches of snow is expected with another round. A lot of dense fog. This is becoming an issue in the southern New England area, the I-95 corridor. Red flag warnings are up. I think you guys broke a streak in New Jersey or Newark or something. Over 40 days without rain. Broke a record. Just insane stuff. We definitely need to rain in this area. But moving forward here, the excessive rainfall outlook, there's a slight risk over areas of Kansas, the heart of Oklahoma, all the way down into Texas. So this means that there's at least a 15% risk of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance. And this is, I'm using WeatherWise. It's web.weatherwise.app. They have an awesome app, folks. The site is phenomenal. I'm going to be using this like crazy over the winter. I can't wait till they add winter snow totals and stuff like that. But definitely try out this site, guys. It's free. It's a cheat code for sure. But if we're talking about severe weather, there is a marginal risk from Dallas all the way down to San Antonio and just everybody in between. There is a risk of severe thunderstorms, maybe a quick spin up, some gusty winds and some hail with this. Not a huge deal, but it's talking about the southeast, folks. Just some on and off showers across Georgia and the Carolinas. The further west you get, the more humid it gets, the more moisture you have a chance of seeing fall from the sky as far as rain. We could get some showers up the Mississippi River Delta area right into here, some showers along the Gulf coastline. But the immediate southeast is pretty quiet. It's just once you get to the Mississippi Delta area, when we're getting into the overnight hours into tomorrow morning, this is when we can get a lot of moisture. Waking up tomorrow morning to a lot of rain falling in northern Louisiana, areas of Mississippi, Arkansas, sneaking into the Memphis, Tennessee area too. But up here in the northeast, we're going to get some flow, trough moving in. So we could get some rain showers mixing with a little bit of snow. By the time we get into this afternoon, just some showers drifting through interior New England. And then some cold air will filter in behind it. And we could switch to a little bit of snowfall, touch of snow up here in the higher elevations of Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. Maybe we'll see what happens with that. But we need to rain down here near the I-95 corridor, and we're just not going to see it today, unfortunately. The south central U.S., obviously, you know, there's two ways to look at this, the snow side and then the rain and severe side. But I'm just going to get all this in motion here. Here's the risk of severe weather in western and central Oklahoma, down here in northern Texas. Watch out for these storms. It'll sweep through these areas here. They'll get all the way into the Dallas area. And then we get into this evening. Snowstorm cranks up again for Denver. Still snowing down here in northern New Mexico. And it finally will let up for New Mexico, the panhandle of Oklahoma, and portions of the Panhandle of Texas later this evening. But it's still cranking overnight in Denver, and it still will be snowing as you wake up tomorrow morning, and then we'll finally wake up. We'll finally get into Saturday afternoon, and things will let up as far as this winter storm. But forecasted additional totals. Here it is for New Mexico. Man, another 6 to 8 inches of snow in Clayton, another 3 to 4 in Las Vegas, New Mexico. We head up to the Pueblo area. Look at the additional snowfall totals. And folks, this was updated around 3 a.m. this morning, so it's not that old. Additional snowfall totals are outrageous, folks. I mean, just insane. I'm not going to spit out a bunch of names. Hopefully you can see it pretty clear on your screen. Just insane stuff. And then we go up to the Denver area. Let's see if there's a new graphic up. There's not. So this was the graphic from last night. I don't know how much this has changed, but from last night, they were going for 8 to 12 inches of snow in the Denver metro area. Castle Rock 12 to 18. Lyman 12 to 18. Akron now up to 8 to 12. Crazy. Akron 8 to 12 inches of snow forecast. At Fort Morgan only 3. We'll have to see how far north this shifts. It's a big question here for sure. Yeah, that's the latest on the update with that. The north central U.S. Listen, guys, I know it's been quiet up here, but I do think that'll change in the future. And we'll try to talk about that right here at the end of the video. But a lot of rain surging up into southern Nebraska. As you can tell, this is mostly all rain in southwest Nebraska. And then the rain begins to take over all of Nebraska into the overnight hours into tomorrow morning. Some of this rain could mix with a little bit of snow in western Nebraska. Some rain starting to move into Missouri and then southwest Iowa too. But the immediate north central U.S., pretty quiet. Western U.S., pretty quiet too, besides this winter storm for the Front Range. Everybody else out west across the Rockies, very quiet weather. A system will move in tomorrow morning and to the Pacific Northwest, but not a huge deal. Temperatures, southeast, warm and humid. It feels like this morning, it feels like a late June morning in South Carolina. Temperatures around 70 degrees. It's humid. So it feels like early fall, late summer across the southeast, or late spring, early summer, however way you want to word it. Northeast, just kind of average temperatures. Middle of the country, warmer than average, but just a tick. It's cooler up in the UP. Temperatures out west, pocket of colder air with this upper level low right here, just dumping heavy, wet snow. Once you get away from the influence of this upper level low, it begins to kind of warm up a little bit, but yeah. So I want to talk about this briefly, and I'm sorry I've been speed rushing through this video. I'm just low on time. Had issues pulling all the tabs together with the video this morning, but the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. I'm just going to keep it like this. If you live in the warmer colors on here, the orange, the reds, above average temperatures are possible to likely. Okay, blue, below average temperatures from the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. So the 13th through the 17th. Okay. Now, you back this up and you look at the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, the 15th through the 21st. Might as well call it the entire middle portion of the month. Above average temperatures are forecasted across the central and eastern U.S. What I want to watch for today is if they tweak this a little bit. And the reason I think that is because this is going to confuse people, okay? The warmer colors is ridging, normally indicates warmer than average temperatures, not as active weather. The blue is troughing, lower pressure. Warmer colors, higher pressure. Bluer colors, lower pressure, indicates more unsettled weather. So you see this little blob of blue? This is for Sunday morning. This blob of blue is what's pumped out all that moisture in the form of snow across the Rockies. This will continue to move. Could bring a little bit of unsettled weather early next week for the Northeast. And then a ridge kind of temporarily moves in. But this is a very moving pattern. Quick moving ridge. Moves in, moves out, it'll warm us back up next week. Then there's a trough right here. You see this big blob of blue? This will have some energy associated with it. This will move in over portions of the Great Lakes region, over the eastern U.S., and it will bring us our first significant cold front that we've seen in quite some time across the eastern U.S. Okay, I'll leave it at that. This could develop some sort of low pressure off the coast of the Northeast. I want to watch that. After that, we get it past 1 week out. This will bring us some nice cooler weather for next weekend. Another ridge could build in. This is the big question mark, the 9 to 10 day range. You got this ridge over the eastern U.S. You got this big trough showing up. Does this ridge kind of dig back in? Or either does it kind of get knocked down? It's a big question. And I got my doubts on what's going to happen. I'm not quite sure because there's still a lot of back and forth. If we go back And I know I'm past the 10-day range. A lot of people are saying, Mitch, you're going against what you talk about. It is what it is. But I know a lot of people rather me show the long range anyways, I think, from what I get from the comments. But you kind of jump and you look over 300 hours out. And looking at more of the reliable thing, which is the ensembles, it does show a trough digging down for the weekend before Thanksgiving. And I hope this happens because I'm going to the mountains that weekend, and I really want cooler weather. Don't want to go to Gatlinburg and it's 75 degrees. I don't know. That just is a buzzkill to me. So we're watching that. Now, what does that mean as far as precipitation? Where there's that upper level low, okay, kind of might phase with some energy and all that. Well, we're watching this system kind of early next week. And then here comes a big system that kind of flies through only Canada. And then the jet begins to dig. And we got to watch this system that kind of flies over the Great Lakes region midway next work week. And then that trough digs down. The GFS wants to develop this low pressure embedded into this trough and do something weird, get a big time storm system cranking up late next work week. Do not call that a forecast. That'll change a lot. That kind of spins away. And then the pattern gets kind of weird. It gets wild. And I just want to watch. There's that crazy hurricane showing up. It might not be crazy. And then the pattern we just need to watch the pattern after that. I think there's a possibility that things could get interesting as we get closer to Thanksgiving as some cold air tries to dive into the eastern U.S. I think it's worth watching for sure. So we'll continue to monitor all this. As far as temperatures with the GEFS ensemble, you'll see the cold front. Just think of blue, below average temperatures, the red and orange, above average temperatures. Watch what happens as we're getting closer to next weekend. We're getting to Friday and to Saturday. Below average temperatures show up for the eastern U.S. as a trough digs down. And then temporarily above average temperatures come back in. And then what happens after that? Okay. When we get closer to the weekend before Thanksgiving, does below average temperatures try to settle back in? I think we just need to watch this. So we'll dive deeper into this probably in the end of the weekend, maybe early next week. But God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you again soon. God bless.